Manchester United was once the richest and most feared football club on earth. A club that generated trophies, dominated English football, and built a global fan base worth hundreds of millions. But behind the history, behind Old Trafford, and behind the massive red brand, a financial crisis has been quietly growing for years. Today, Manchester United is drowning in debt, struggling with failed transfers, exploding wages, declining Champions League money, and growing anger toward the Glazer family. What looked like a football empire is now becoming one of the most expensive financial disasters in sports history. The story begins in 2005 when the Glazer family completed their controversial takeover of Manchester United. But here is the shocking part: the Glazers did not buy Manchester United entirely with their own money. Instead, they used a leveraged buyout worth around £790 million, meaning huge portions of the debt were loaded directly onto the football club itself. Overnight, Manchester United went from being virtually debt-free to carrying hundreds of millions in financial obligations. Fans immediately feared the club was becoming a business machine instead of a football institution. Over the years, that debt exploded. Reports have shown Manchester United's total debt and liabilities climbing beyond £1 billion when including transfer obligations, loans, and other financial commitments. Every season, massive amounts of money leave the club simply to service interest payments and financial costs. Instead of using all their revenue to improve the squad, rebuild the stadium, or strengthen recruitment, huge sums have gone into managing debt created by the takeover itself. Then came the transfer disasters. Manchester United spent enormous money trying to rebuild after the retirement of legendary manager Sir Alex Ferguson. Since Ferguson left in 2013, the club has spent well over £1.5 billion on transfers alone, but many of those signings failed to deliver success on the pitch. The club spent around £89 million on Paul Pogba in 2016, making him one of the most expensive players in football history at the time. Despite moments of brilliance, inconsistency and injuries meant the investment never fully paid off. Even worse, Pogba eventually left the club for free. Manchester United also spent around £85 million on Antony from Ajax, a transfer now heavily criticized because of poor performances and declining market value. Then came Jadon Sancho for approximately £73 million, another expensive deal that turned into dressing room conflict and disappointment. But the spending did not stop there. Manchester United paid massive salaries to some of the biggest stars in football. At one point, Cristiano Ronaldo reportedly earned over £500,000 per week during his return to the club. Casemiro reportedly earns close to £350,000 per week. Marcus Rashford signed a deal worth around £325,000 weekly. The wage bill became one of the largest in world football, reportedly exceeding £300 million annually. The problem is that Manchester United's performances on the pitch have not matched the money being spent. Missing out on the UEFA Champions League has become financially devastating for the club. Champions League participation can generate over £80 million to £120 million in revenue through prize money, broadcasting rights, sponsorship bonuses, and matchday income. Every season outside Europe's biggest competition creates another financial wound for Manchester United. And while the football side struggled, the Glazer family continued taking money out of the club. Reports suggest the Glazers have extracted over £150 million through dividends payments and share sales during their ownership period. This became one of the biggest reasons fans turned against them. Supporters watched billions being spent poorly while the stadium aged, the training facilities fell behind rivals, and debt continued growing. Old Trafford itself became a symbol of the crisis. Once called the Theatre of Dreams, parts of the stadium began facing criticism for outdated infrastructure, leaks, and deterioration. Experts estimate that fully modernizing Old Trafford could now cost between £800 million and £2 billion depending on redevelopment plans. That means Manchester United are not only fighting football problems, they are facing massive infrastructure costs as well. Commercially, Manchester United still remain one of the richest clubs in the world. Sponsorship deals with companies like Adidas and Snapdragon continue bringing in huge money. The club still generates hundreds of millions annually from shirt sales, partnerships, broadcasting, and global branding. But financial experts now question whether the club's business power can continue protecting them from years of football underperformance. Now a new era has started under Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos, who invested over £1 billion into Manchester United to gain control of football operations. Fans hope this could finally stabilize the club financially and competitively, but the challenges remain enormous. Manchester United still face debt, expensive wages, rebuilding costs, transfer pressure, and expectations that come with being one of the biggest football brands on earth. Because this is no longer just a football problem. This is a billion-dollar business crisis. A club once built on trophies and dominance is now trapped between financial pressure, failed investments, and years of instability. Manchester United still make huge money, but they are also losing huge money. And until the club fixes the business behind the football, the crisis may only continue growing. This is the money disaster behind Manchester United. For more content, subscribe to Money Behind Football.